Okay, welcome everybody to PBL for Deeper Learning. We're going to talk about how we reach deeper learning, not just with PBL. And I was thinking about this last night as my colleagues were eating a hamburger. And I want you to think about it this way, because we're going to cover PBL not in the strict PBL sense. There's plenty of classes here that will do that. We're going to cover it like PBL's the meat of the hamburger. Then we're going to talk about systems that help promote deeper learning in PBL. That's kind of like the buns. And then we're going to talk about technology, which needs to be in there as well, and that's kind of like the produce. And we'll talk about PBL itself, but then we're going to talk about the secret sauce, and that's kind of setting up the culture for deeper learning in PBL. And we're going to give it to you from every perspective: the students, the superintendent, the teachers, and myself. I'm the site director.
Okay.
So I'm Kathy Gomez, and I'm the superintendent of Evergreen School District.
I'm Isabel Nisby, 8th grade.
I'm Kelsey Medina, 8th grader as well.
I'm John Lewis Moreland. I'm also an 8th grader.
I'm Hugo Marquez, and I'm a 7th grader at Bulldog Tech.
I'm Mariana Benitez, and I'm a 7th grader at Bulldog Tech.
And I'm Chris Leifeld, and I'm a 7th grader at Bulldog Tech.
I'm Randy Hollenkamp. I'm the site director.
I'm Suzanne Zamora. I'm a language arts teacher.
And I'm Jim Conway. I'm the art teacher at Bulldog Tech.
So we decided that we wanted to make this more of a fishbowl format. We wanted it to be an authentic conversation rather than just a sit and get. So we're going to be looking at PBL through a few different lenses: systems, technology, PBL itself, and culture. And after we look through these lenses, we're actually going to invite you to come and join us in the circle, to have a discussion with us, to ask questions. The rules are you can come in and out as you please, you can tap someone in or just pull up your chair if you have some really burning questions, but we want it to be a discussion.
We believe that we will address the role of PBL, and you need to know that culture is crucial to deeper learning.
Why was Bulldog Tech created? Well, here's a clip from the Today Show to show why.
Wealthy Wide series this morning with the wisest city in America. NBC's Janet Shanley traveled to a place that's on the forefront of creativity, a birthplace, you might say, of big ideas.
They call it the capital of Silicon Valley. San Jose sits squarely in a region home to some of the biggest names in tech: Apple, Google, Facebook, and eBay. In the shadow of Stanford, one of the nation's top universities, America's 10th largest city attracts the best and brightest. More than half of all adults have a college degree. The drive to create and innovate starts early here.
What dimension was that?
At Bulldog Tech Middle School, you won't find many textbooks.
From every corner of the globe.
300 7th and 8th grade learn math, science, English, all the basics, through collaborative projects.
They have to use critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity to solve a problem that they're presented with.
And working in teams is better preparation for the workplace.
The students learn the same content, but they apply it, and so that learning goes a little deeper, and it lasts a lot longer.
It's a lot more fun, it's a lot more hands-on. In traditional schools, you say, oh, here's a worksheet, everyone do the same thing, but here you do, oh, here's a project, we want you guys to think of a fun way and a different way to do this.
More than 6,000 technology companies make their home here.
So if you kind of put that in perspective of Silicon Valley and education, it kind of gives you the why. You know, education, it takes a long time to catch up to things, but you start looking at what's going around education. This gives you the why and what we have to do to prepare these kids.
So our driving question is, how can we create conditions for deeper learning?
And now the superintendent, Ms. Gomez, will talk about the systems used at Bulldog Tech.
Thank you, Chris. So my section is to talk about the Evergreen System, and that's the system I know. I've been in the district for 28 years. I did my student teaching in the district, and it is the only system I'm most familiar with. we are working hard to transition our district from a top-down, hierarchical, traditional school district to a 21st century school district where everyone uses the 4 C's. That work is happening intentionally and at scale at 2 of our schools, at Bulldog Tech and at Catherine Smith. Bulldog Tech is a small school on the Leva Middle School campus. We have 3 middle schools in Evergreen School District. Leva is one of the 3, and it's the only Title I school. And so for a long time I'd heard talk about the need for us to bring some kind of unique program or innovative program to the Leva, to support the Leva students and the Leva community. And when I became the superintendent in 2011, the time was right for us to do that. And so we started doing some research, doing our homework, and looking into what is that program that is going to best serve the students in that community. We had just finished a career tech summer school program, and it was the first one that we had offered in the district. Randy Hollenkamp was the technology resource teacher on special assignment. Erin Brengard, who is now the principal at Catherine Smith, was a teacher on special assignment. And then Denise Williams, who at that time was our director of categorical programs. The 3 of them had put together this career tech summer school that was project-based learning, only we didn't call it or really know that's what it was, but it was definitely project-based learning. And it was very, very successful. And so as we began looking at what are the programs or innovative programs that we can bring to this community, that was in the back of our mind. So in the fall of 2011, we took a trip to Napa New Tech High School, and it was myself and Randy and Erin, our director of facilities, our associate superintendent for instruction, and we visited Napa New Tech High School. And we expected to see great teaching and great learning happening, and we absolutely did. We were absolutely inspired by that. But what we all came away with more than anything was the sense of the culture and how rich the culture was and how filled with respect it was. Respect, students to students, adults to adults, students to adults. So I think on that drive home we knew that's what we want for our kids. Simultaneously, I had an elementary school, we had an elementary school, Catherine Smith. And for some reason, it was not keeping pace in terms of student achievement with the rest of the district. And it was a year 4 program improvement school. It's our most needy Title I school in the district. It serves about 650 transitional kindergarten through 6th grade students. And we knew that we needed to do something different there. And so we started asking ourselves, well, if this is going to work at Bulldog Tech, why don't we do something very similar at Catherine Smith? New Tech Network did not have an elementary school program at the time. They didn't have that model, but we felt pretty sure that we could create something. So we made an intentional decision to reinvent that school. And so we began doing the work. Erin Brengard and myself started talking about the vision we had for that school. And then we went out and we started talking to other teachers, and we told them that here's what we'll give you if you come to our school. You will have autonomy, you will have opportunity for shared leadership, and you will have voice in the decision making that happens at the school. In exchange, we're going to, we need you to be able to commit to being a risk taker, to making yourself vulnerable, and a deep belief that all kids can learn, regardless of their race, their language, or their socioeconomic background. So we were able to, we had a lot of people who wanted to come on board. And 75% of the staff that following year were new to the school from other schools in the district. And they came to Catherine Smith from schools that had 950 API scores, and they chose to come there and wanted to do the work. So that's kind of the story about Bulldog Tech and Catherine Smith. And you know what, as I look back and ask myself, okay, what has worked in getting these two schools moving forward, I think one of the first things is that you have to commit to be all in. And we had done our homework. We knew why we wanted this program. We all believed deeply that we wanted our students to be as confident and respectful and as the students we saw at Napa New Tech. I had the support of the union president. My school board was on board, and so we had all those pieces in place, and we moved fast. Our first conversation with the Napa folks, I think, was in the fall, October of 2011, and the school opened in the following fall. So we moved really boldly, and I feel like my job was to keep everybody looking forward and not looking back. The second was getting the right people on board. I think that's absolutely critical and key. If you're familiar with Jim Collins' work, you know that getting the right people and then getting them in the right place is really crucial. And it was clear to me that Randy and Aaron were the people. The three of us have worked together for a long time. We had many, many conversations about what a good school looks like, and we've got that. We're in agreement on that. And then I had to get out of the way. I just, they're very competent. They know what they're doing. They've got great staff, and I just need to step back and give them the freedom to do what they need to do. And then the third takeaway, I think, is to leverage the energy of the evangelists. And when I say they, I mean the leadership and the everybody at the school, they have to be empowered to take risks. They can't step out on a limb and then get their hands slapped for something. They have to be willing to take risks. I have to be willing to let them take risks, make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and then move forward again. We support them with additional time and resources that not all the schools in the district have, and they are free to do things differently.
Okay, so what we'd like to do now is to invite you in to the discussion. If you would like to actually join us in the middle, that would be awesome. The students are here to answer questions, and I know they also want to talk about what makes our system different, so you can get their perspective as well.
Come on in.
We could actually start with the students.
Yes, sure.
This question.
One of the challenges with project-based learning and teachers is that teachers assess, and teachers they want to give grades. And with project-based learning and activity-based learning, the whole purpose is to give multiple experiences until the student becomes proficient and advanced at a concept or activity or skill. So how did, as I guess this is for the superintendent, how did the work go to slow teachers down, because teachers are frequently right in there and they want to give a grade before the student has become proficient at something. So what kind of work was done to slow that process down so that kids aren't slapped for making mistakes?
We had the right people in place, and so the teachers who have chosen to work at Bulldog Tech and who have chosen to work at Catherine Smith, they talk about everything. And we're going to see in a little bit here how much collaboration happens, not just for students, but also for adults. And so there was lots of conversation that was had around grading and what do we grade and how do we change the way we grade. Right now, there are a couple teachers at Catherine Smith working with a software developer in our community who's developed a learning management system tool for them to use that has a report card featured in it. And they've amended it to not just, you know, assign grades on language, arts, and math, but also on the habits of mind that they've identified as being important. And so what they needed from me was the freedom to say, look, we don't want to use the district report card anymore. And I had to say, I understand that, and I respect that, and I think I'm okay with that.
I can add too that there is a formula, but in all cases you got to figure out what your school-wide learning outcomes, what do you want that to be, and you have to work that through with the staff. And in New Tech, they have done that work for us. That would take a long time if you had to do that yourself, but you have to do that work. And so the staff, you know, help me out here, Suzanne. We were stuck in a room working out school-wide learning outcomes for a long time, and what that looks like with kids, and what actual skills they'd have to do, and to the point where we created rubrics. By the time we were done with that process, not only were we bonded quite well,
2 days in the same room.
Yeah, and we were good. You should have seen some of the other schools. We had a common understanding. Now that work continues. Our school is set up kind of like the Pentagon, you know, that it's all facing each other, and you see teachers going across from classroom to classroom constantly talking about that. And I think we're going to touch on that a little more. And then the kids get involved in the rubrics. I mean, do you want to comment about using rubrics to
well, we have
how that's different, maybe?
What's different about the rubrics is that we get to see what we are going to be graded on and how we are going to be graded. Then there's also a thing in one of the learning outcomes called agency, which a lot of people don't get graded on in other schools. Agency, we are graded on our work ethic, and it's incredible, I think. It drives us to do better.
To add on to John Lee, it drives us to be better, to have passion in our work, not to only just, like, if we get handed a test, yes, that's correct, no, that's not wrong, that's wrong, yes, that's correct, that's wrong. No, we don't get that. We get, yes, it's wrong, but you could fix it. Yes, you could do something to get it better. Like, you could get some critique to make your work better than it actually already is.
Yeah, so like, not even agency, but all of them in general. So we have written communication, oral communication, agency, knowledge and thinking, and collaboration. And they all play a huge part today, so.
Don't forget aesthetics.
Aesthetics?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, aesthetics too. Aesthetics is really important. It helps our work be beautiful, but all of them together make, like, the work in the back, they make them all our own and make them look unique. And like what Mariana was saying, how we get critique back, it's like doing drafts. We do one draft, we have critique from our teachers and students, do another draft, and it all turns out to be beautiful in the end.
Have you had any feedback from students who have entered college to say how PBL has helped them in the colleges that they are attending?
We've been in operation. This is the third year that this school has been in operation. I know that New Tech Network tracks that data, and I recall hearing a story that students who have been through a project-based learning environment are better prepared to collaborate with others. What was the story we heard? They went to college and they sit in the front row and they immediately identify the people in the room they can work with, and they form alliances and get going.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Those kids become the leaders. And this is coming from kids that have gone through New Tech here at Napa. You can get a lot of those stories from them.
I was just, the question, I guess, the curious part of me still knows that basically colleges are not PBL driven. And
They're not right this moment.
Right.
I think they will in the future. I think everybody will catch up. But I would suggest that, you know, if you go to, just pick one, UCLA, you know, I know from personal experience that UCLA is very traditional for the most part in their teaching and learning. So now you have these wonderful, excited students that attend a similar college to that, and they go into more traditional setting. And I'm wondering, I mean, I'm glad I got that resource about the new tech, because I'm wondering how that all of a sudden switches off. And really, that's, I mean, I'm envisioning myself going through a project-based learning high school and then saying, oh, wait a minute, now I'm going to UCLA, and now I have to switch it off and go back into a more traditional setting. Not to say one, I mean, I think, as I said, I think colleges will catch up, but I would think that would be kind of like, boom, unless you can find a college that actually is, you know, geared towards project-based.
Well, a lot of what we do is developing their critical thinking skills and their ability to think.
Right.
And one of those is code switching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
They'll know what kind of, how to act in the situation that they're in. And that's what we all do. We all do code switching.
Yeah.
We're doing it right now today.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you walk in the theater, you have to put that phone away, you have to shut it off. You have to learn how to code switching is an important skill. It is huge in what we do, because they come from the other campus, being a school within a school, they come through our gate, the culture completely changes.
Right.
But when they go out that gate, they have to code switch. It's another seat, code switching. So I think we're going to move on, because this is going to take us a while. There you go.
So now Mr. Hollenkamp will talk about the technology which is widely used at Bulldog Tech.
Jim? So really, I just want to make 3 quick points about technology, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but it's very important if you're going to achieve deeper learning with PBL. The world has changed. Now kids are walking around, even kids that maybe they can't afford it, but they still have a computer in their pocket. And you know, it used to be, in the whole No Child Left Behind era, it used to be that we had to get them ready with content, to memorize content right before the high stakes test, right? And you know, being a teacher, I felt that pressure. You had to get it in. You just try to cram it in any way you could. And we know what happens is they take that test and then everything is forgotten. And it really was just memorizing content. You know, the presidents, the quadratic equation, the periodic table. Come on, really? Do you remember all that stuff? Well, now that you have this, you can look it up. Your kid can go on there and literally anything they want to know. Who is Justin Bieber's girlfriend right now, right? They can find out at that second. So that created this huge paradigm shift in education, where it's not really about memorization. It's not really about relying on our fragmented memories to come up with something at one point and that's it, and if you missed it, you're wrong. We learned that mistakes are bad with No Child Left Behind, but the computer has changed that. It's now taking the computer and the knowledge you can get from the computer anywhere and creating something new in the world, doing something with that knowledge, taking that to the next level. If you look at schools have not caught up to this idea, and you can look at just going around in a lot of traditional schools, you see settings like this, but what's wrong with this? I mean, really it's not set up for deeper learning, because is there a lot of trust in this situation? Is this in context? Is this the way they set it up in the workplace? So you know you're bringing technology to the students. You're being very progressive, but what really are you telling them? I think technology has to look like this. This is the way we use it, right? Look at you right now. This is how the kids have to be able to use it in context. Look, she has a cell phone out. They're talking, there's a computer there, there's books there, there's all kinds of things going on. That's exactly the way you're using it, and that's exactly the way we have to figure out how to use it. If the kids were asked to use it any way they want to, this is what you would see. They'd be going outside with it, they'd be using it anywhere they could, just like the phone. And that's why we use these devices, because they really emulate using this, which is real life. technology has to be used like it is in real life in order to give them that skill at in the formative years for using technology. It has to also be a tool that can extend learning. Technology, there's no point to technology if it's just going to be something that replaces the teacher. In fact, that's the worst way to use technology. A lot of people come to our school and they ask, what apps do you use? And really, it's not about that. It's not about apps replacing teachers. If you use it in that way, you're using it in the lowest form possible, and a computer can never replace a human. What you have to do is something that they could never do before. We could never Skype with China before. Now we're Skyping with China. Now we're talking with them. Now we're sharing ideas. Now we're doing a concurrent project with them on endangered species. That could never happen before. If you're using technology in that way, then you're using it in the right way, and you're going to create conditions for deeper learning. So technology should be used to access and create diverse knowledge and thinking that can be applied in ways that would not be readily available otherwise. So,
I have a comment about technology.
okay.
So how do you guys see students as like using technology? You're probably seeing them like that one computer lab kid that was just all the computers were in a line. Well, kids hate that. Absolutely do. I hate that. We all hate that. It's just a thing. What we do love is when adults respect us enough and trust us enough to be able to use our technology throughout like our campus. We can bring it outside, we could use it in the classrooms, we can do anything with them. We could go out in the little side forest where there's little redwood trees and like film a scene of a movie that we're making or something. If you don't give kids the freedom to use technology like that, they won't use it the way you want them to. They'll probably just stare at the screen, go on Facebook, Instagram. If you control them, it's not going to work. And here, they don't control us, and it's great. I love that.
And also, the classrooms, they're a lot bigger. They're double the size. There's double the teachers, double the boards. You'll see all the tables. They're all in groups because we all collaborate, and the chairs have wheels on them. They're really nice. We have skylights so that we can get natural lighting. It's just all of it all around. It's really a nice environment to be in, and it really helps.
We have a lot of freedom. We can move around with the tables. We can move the tables out. We can move the chairs. And with that freedom, we are able to do our projects and able to learn the way we should.
So, as you said before, we have 2 teachers in each classroom. And because we have 2 teachers in each classroom, there are also 2 subjects in the same, what we call blocks. So, for one of the projects we did earlier in our road enrichment class and our English class, we did a project against for Muslim discrimination. So one of the things we had to do was, first we had to learn about the Muslim religion. So we made a PSA about how Muslims are being discriminated ever since 9/11. And another thing we did in that project was, now that we did the PSA and we researched about Muslims, we had to make basically it was a diary entry. So the teachers gave us a website which had several videos about how Muslims were getting discriminated, and we had to pick one of those people who were discriminated and write a diary entry about them. So now that we knew, well, the person I chose was Malala, who was shot in the head by one of the Taliban people. So I had to write in the first person, which is the English part, about how, basically, what her life and how it led up to the events of the shooting, and how she wanted women to get the same education everywhere. So I learned about history because of the Muslims, and I learned how to write better and basically in first person, because I never really got the chance to write in first person in my traditional elementary school. So I learned a lot on that just little project.
What questions do you have about technology?
how does Bulldog Tech impact in terms of your habits of mind that are being taught and the way technology is being integrated in the curriculum and learning with Leva Middle School?
With Leva? Well, we are connected with Leva we share the same campus, we do the same sports, and we share the same electives, but our technology isn't really shared with them. All the Leva students had a chance to go to Bulldog Tech if they wanted to. They could have applied, but if they don't want to, they could stay on the traditional campus. Our technology is used in Bulldog Tech for us to do our work and for us to learn.
So are you asking about the learning being scaled to Bulldog Tech?
I'm asking how what's happening at Bulldog Tech impact or influence what's happening at Leva.
Yeah. So I would say that they come over, they see examples, they change a little bit, but it has not made a complete transformation out of Leva. One of the things that makes us unique is that we're small. We're a school within a school. So to scale our model larger would mean that we would lose that family-like environment. It's much harder for Leva to do that. And the teachers over there are still, teaching in their single subjects, and while we're all integrated. So, there's a lot of things that we can do. We have an advantage because of the way the system was set up.
Has there been any anecdotal comments from administration or teachers around how your students are performing and interacting at Leva and the elective classes compared to the other students?
Have you heard any comments about Bulldog Techers being different?
Of course.
You want to comment?
Well, it's just like being the new kid at school, just like being the new people. Of course, people are going to make comments about you. Even in the yearbook, we were called Techies. We didn't make up that name. So, yes, of course, we get like those comments like, oh, you're Bulldog Tech, you have all the technology, you think you're all cool. No, we don't. Like, what are you talking about? We just, but we do get to interact with the Leva students. Like, I have a lot of friends from there from elementary school, from sports. I get to talk to them. There's no reason for me being, like, there's no wall in between us, even though some people may feel like it. But we can go out there. It doesn't matter. Like, if you want to go socialize, go socialize. Nobody's stopping you.
That's true. It's like if someone says, oh my god, you're a techie, why do you even like it? It's stupid. But then when you really stop and you ask them, why do you say this? What's your reasoning behind it? They don't have one because they have no experience with it, And it's like, I do. All my friends basically go to Leva. Like, I have you guys, but then, like, at lunch and at break, I'll go over there and hang out with my friends.
And it's like when you ask, oh, why do you go to Bulldog Tech? Well, why do you go to Leva? But they have no answer, and then we say, okay, yes, we love it. We really enjoy it. We enjoy project-based learning. What do you enjoy over there? Well, I enjoy being normal. So, yeah, it's just what it is. Like, there's some comments here and there, but I think Leva's gone over it. Is there a question over there?
There's a question here. Somebody who's stepped into
questions,
the circle.
Questions.
I would like to know from the students, what's the most unique or interesting way you've used technology in one of your projects?
Okay.
I made a movie, there's a PSA in American Studies, especially language arts and history, about how education is important and to convince people to stay in school when we go to college.
And who did the PSA get released to?
We just showed our class, and I think they might have put it on YouTube or something.
They gave it to me, but I have not been back there yet.
Yeah, because
it just happened.
Yeah.
2 days ago.
One of the most interesting things for me is in 7th grade we got to design our own dream house for what's it called? House Hunters project, and we got to use this tool on our iPads to design rooms in the houses and scale it just to match our blueprints, and I thought that was really fun, making the little houses and everything.
And who'd you present that one to?
We presented it to the class, but I think Didn't they submit it to like the actual House Hunters people?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was actually not our own dream houses. It was this lady that was on the show's dream house, and so we had to scale it to her preferences. And then I think we might have submitted it to like the House Hunters people. And they
So there was people that were on the show that the teacher knew, and she brought them in, and then she had them design their house.
A very authentic audience. And how much math was used in that project?
A lot. Oh my gosh.
So explain to all the people who say you can't do math in PBL what you did with math.
Yeah, it's just like there was a lot of math. Oh my gosh, I think
The
that
measurements.
I think that was the most like brain frying project for me because I don't know, like math is because I struggle like a tiny bit with math, but yeah, we had to do the measurements. We had to figure out how big the rooms were gonna be. Then we had to figure out like even on the walls here, on the top, there's those, I forgot what they're called, but we had to like use those for each of the room and how much they were gonna cost, and it was just.
Yeah, and then we also had to scale it, so like we'd make one small one and then a bigger blueprint and then put it back on the iPad.
Then we had to make a 3D model.
Yeah, but it was really fun, especially engaging with the technology and using the app. That was like my favorite one too.
Oh yes, good question.
So I wanted to come in just because you welcomed us in. I did have a question too. Thanks for welcoming me into the circle. So I wanted to ask a question about your physical learning spaces. That's what I'm really interested in, and what I specialize in is innovative schools and spaces. And you guys got there before I did. You started talking about your classrooms and the movable furniture, and you talked about natural light. So I'd love to hear more ideas about that in a project-based learning environment. You know, how does the physical space need to be different? I think it needs to be really different. It sounds like your space is different. I'd love to hear more from the students as well as from the leaders. How does physical space impact behaviors, and how are you thinking about that, and how you're planning physical spaces to be different to support project-based learning? You guys already talked about, but I'd love to hear more from the students and the leaders.
When you have been in Bulldog Tech and then you transfer, or not really transfer, but go to a Leva campus classroom, it just feels so claustrophobic and so, like, you're so controlled. I hate that feeling. But at Bulldog Tech, it needs to be open. It needs to be big windows, a lot of light. It can't be like dark fluorescent lights that make your brains feel like, why am I here? Yeah, and then, yeah, it just needs to be very open, I think. It needs to be very big. It needs to be spacious where people can move around and feel comfortable.
Yeah, there's a lot of space in the classroom, which I personally like because of the collaboration. Like, we move the desks and the chairs around. We can move the desks outside and like put the laptop on it to record or something. And it's just really useful because of collaboration. You know, you can move around. You're not like stuck in that small, like, tight space.
Yeah, rows of desks facing.
Yeah, ours are like tables. It's collaboration.
So for PBL, a lot of things have to happen. You have to think of like a high-tech company like Google, and what is their layout like? You need to have it. In one corner of the room, you might have a workshop going on. In another corner of the room, you might have teams working on something, constructing something. In another corner, so that has to be. Our rooms are even bigger than this, I think.
Yeah.
They're like probably 2 of these rooms, and you have to have a place to spread out and do the stuff you need to do, and it has to be. You know, we're lucky to have solar lighting, so it's very energizing.
I think that even in regular classrooms, not even a project-based learning classroom, classrooms need to be bigger. And we just passed a bond in November, and we are looking at redesigning a couple of our schools that have not made a commitment to project-based learning. But I'm looking to make those classrooms bigger than the traditional 960 square feet, because I walk into a classroom with 30 sixth graders and their desks, you can't move. So how can I expect teachers to be doing small group instruction or see levels of activity in a classroom where it is claustrophobic? I agree. So we're looking district-wide at making classrooms larger.
That's really encouraging to hear that, because in the work that we do, we have a really hard time doing active learning in 960 square feet. It's really hard to do that. You can put mobile, flexible tools in the classroom, but unless there's a little bit of elbow room, it's really hard to use them. So I haven't heard of a district that's actually just making facilities bigger without trying to add head count. There's always that, you know, student head count per square foot number, and it's really encouraging to hear that you're district-wide looking at opening that up. That's awesome. Are you aware of anybody else doing that, or are you guys one of the first in that regard? I haven't heard of it. Very cool.
And usually though, in the other campuses, like, you'll have to ask to get out of your seat. But at Bulldog Tech, it's like you just get up and move around, you collaborate, you talk with your group, you get your work done. It's really nice.
Yeah, there's no rules against getting up or going to get water, going to go to the bathroom. Like, yeah, if you're going to leave the classroom, you have to sign out just in case of an emergency, but we're free to go anywhere.
Yeah, there is direct teaching, but there's not a lot of direct teaching. We are, as teachers, we're facilitators. We're there to just go around, make sure everybody understands what's going on, and help anything that's needed help with. I think that most of my lessons, or my beginnings of the classes, take about 5 minutes. Let's go over the agenda. Okay, get to work. Let's go.
We're activators.
Yeah.
Learn that.
Well, we're part of the New Tech Network, so that we have access to all of their resources in their library of resources. So that's one way. That's one place that we find stuff that's already been put together that we just have to modify. And we also, every classroom has 2 teachers. We are a team teaching all the time. So I'm with science and art. I'm the art part, and my partner, Ms. Shelton, is science. But actually, it's not like I teach art for 20 minutes and then she teaches science for 20 minutes. It's all, we're working on the project, and it's integrated, totally integrated. So we plan all the time. We're fine tuning, we're adding, we're taking away. We start with an idea and then we just kind of build it as we go along.
It's not like what he said, it's not just art and then science. It's together a big mash, so it's more like, it's like, for example, our cancer awareness project. We learned about cancer and how cells, like the NIS in our DNA, how it genetically, like it mutates and then the cells start growing, and that's how a tumor begins. But we had to start drawing like the cells and how like the stages of each thing. We had to make an entire board. It had to be vibrant, it had to be this, it had to be that. It wasn't just specifically art or specifically science. It was mashed together in a beautiful format of our boards that we made and we presented to the people to possibly save lives.
How are we doing on time?
We're 42 minutes into this.
Okay, so we need to
step it up.
We'll get to you.
Thank you.
I'm just telling him.
Thank you. I appreciate being a part of your circle as well. And I do want to confirm that the project-based learning, it really does help students as they mature onto college. I had an opportunity to find a school. I founded a school in LA Unified, and as my students progressed on to 4-year colleges, they were very successful in transitioning from the project-based learning environment to the high expectations of a 4-year university. But my question to you is, I want you to go a little more specific into the exact types of technology that you have in your school. So I heard the iPads and I heard the video cameras. I just want to make sure that I'm capturing all of the various things that you're using.
Go ahead, Eva.
So in each classroom, which we have 6 classrooms there, we have 2 iPad cards available for each student, and a laptop card, which is only specific to the classroom. I'm sorry? 20 per classroom. Oh yes, there's only 20 per classroom, so it's just limited to some students. We have the ability to access them at any time, but in the right context.
Can you use phones?
Yes, we are available to use phones. Yes, in the right context, but not like for texting. That's a no-no.
We can use it for like research and everything, and we can also listen to music during class if during work time. It depends on the class rules, but in Leva you don't see that. You don't see students freely taking out their cell phones and listening to music, and that's just a freedom, another freedom that we really are grateful for in Bulldog Tech.
I have to tell you, I went through the administrative program with someone that said they took every phone from every student when they walked on the campus. And I couldn't believe it. I understand why, because it's trying to control the problems with texting and things, but I don't know, do you think texting happens more at Bulldog Tech than it would at any other school, or what do you guys think about that?
No, I don't think it does, because since we're so small, we're so compact, and it's not very compact, but it's a huge room with a bunch of people. You get to know them, and you're like a family, and the teachers are part of your family. Would you betray a family member of yours? You would betray them?
No, I was listening to you, and I'm in agreement.
So you wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't betray them. If your mom told you to do something, you would do it. That's what we believe, but just with our teachers, they're like our second family.
I don't think when a problem with taking away every student's cell phone in a whole campus is that they'll hide their cell phones. They'll find a place to hide it. And in Bulldog Tech, we just like whip our cell phones or our iPods and text somebody, like if we really need to. And then a teacher will come by and say like, hey, you're not supposed to do that. Just put it away next time. Like, I'll have to like talk to you more, but you should stop. And then we'll just like put it back. It will be no big deal. And if it's a big deal, then like students will get flustered and it'll be like, oh, why are you taking my phone? But well, it's not a big deal. We could just take it out.
In this picture, you can sort of see what our classrooms look like. The big windows, the tables that can move easily. This is my classroom, so I don't have, since we're at science and art, we don't have carpeting. I like it.
And the rolling chairs will work in a room without carpet. That was one of
Oh yeah, they work really well.
They work too well, especially in the beginning. They start falling out of their chairs.
I hear them rolling.
I would have rather not have wheels and cement.
I know.
That's
why you don't like sitting on the edge.
Perfectly honest.
I hear them rolling and I hate it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you. All right, Jen, you gotta go condense it.
All right, so I want my part is to talk about PBL. We've been talking about projects all along here, but I wanted to talk about really quickly the traditional model compared to the way we do it. The old way, I've taught for 27 years, and I did it the old way for many, many years. Lecture, read the unit, get through the unit, take an exam, and then we do the project at the end. We do a fun project at the end. Now, after going through the training with New Tech and learning it all and understanding what projects are really not the dessert at the end, but they're actually the meal itself. This is the model on the bottom. This is how we do this. We launch the project. We choose. But the thing about projects that you have to totally understand, and this is the one thing I want you to take away from this, is that the project has to be meaningful. It has to be authentic. It has to be something that is just bigger than. It's something that's going to maybe stick with them for a long time because it's something that they can relate to, like the Cancer Awareness Project. Why are we doing that project? Okay, why do we do that project?
Well, you asked us multiple times, why are we doing this? Because we're going to present to the people. The answer to the question was to possibly save lives.
Right.
Because
now that's pretty meaningful. And that's why we do. That's what we want. That's the thing. That's what the sign that says curriculum that engages. That's engaging. When you're working on something that you think is going to actually help somebody and change somebody's life, that's engaging. That's what projects really are. They're not the dessert at the end of the meal. They are a full meal with all the possibilities. So we want to talk about our projects.
Okay, so what we're doing right now in Art of Science, we're raising awareness. Right?
We're raising awareness about these types of salmon, like the steelhead salmon, the pink salmon, chum salmon, different types of salmon, and we draw them out. And the reason why we're doing this is because they've been recently being endangered, and that's our food supply for the next for the new generations that we will have. And we need to protect them so in the future we will not have to have bionic like or genetically enhanced fish. We're gonna have natural living creatures that were like from the 19th, like they would say, oh, that was from the 21st century. They're still alive because this school did this research about this and saved so many lives of these living creatures.
Oh, what's our next?
Some more of our projects, just some, some things that we made making our projects. We have, we have projects about, connection project. You want to talk about the shadow box?
Oh yes, I made. Actually, everybody made a shadow box. It's about how we all made it, how we all ended up at Bulldog Tech, predated to 60,000 years. So of course, like human life started in Africa, like where our families traveled, like where the nomads went, and how our family, maybe our parents, or maybe we are the first generation to come to go to San Jose and live there in that area and go to Bulldog Tech. Yeah, that's what it was about, and we all really connected throughout that project. That project is still going on, actually. We haven't finished it yet, but in the end, we will it'll be this huge gallery walk throughout the entire school, and we'll all get to hear each other's stories.
How?
Through podcast, and there will be QR codes which you can scan with your phones, and just scan it, and then you'll be able to listen to it.
Who do we partner with?
So an ambassador from Immigrant Nation, which is a website for sharing your family's stories, came to Bulldog Tech, and they introduced us to immigrantnation.com, and everyone from Bulldog Tech made a story which includes 2 pictures and 400 characters total to basically write your family story of how you came to the United States. So everyone, like as I said earlier, everyone in Bulldog Tech had to make one. They all tagged their stories with hashtag Bulldog Tech, and now everyone on Immigrant Nation and everyone at Bulldog Tech can read each other's stories on this website. So it was pretty cool to have someone come from that website and actually show us firsthand on what it was. And in fact, someone who works for the website, they made a film about a runner who actually maybe Hugo can share about the story.
Oh yeah, so what the photographer? No, that's not. Oh yeah, what the filmer? Sorry. What he did is he did a mini documentary on a South American marathoner. How he traveled to America to have a better job here, and he heard about what year was it?
It was a New York race. I don't.
No, it was a marathon. It was a famous one.
The New York Marathon.
Yes, it was a New York Marathon. Where he saw on TV, and he was very inspired by a Mexican runner who finished first, and he decided that he wanted to achieve that goal to finish a marathon in New York.
And Connections has a lot of different projects that help us connect with our community, especially the what was it called? No.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
No, the first one. I forgot what it's called.
Oh, grit.
Do something.
Grit.
Do something. Do
Do
something.
something, yeah.
Do something. Yes, do something. Sorry. Do something was when we got to choose what we wanted to change in our community, and it could have been our community as in our school, our community as in Evergreen School District, or it could have extended to the entire world. Well, my group last year did a project on bullying, and we went through, Kelsey was actually also in that group. We made presentations to elementary schools, and we got to talk about bullying to elementary school students where it usually starts, and we got to fix that problem hopefully before it got bad in middle school.
Well, this year, what I did for my Do Something project is I go to the bus every single day. There's a park where the bus stop is. The park was very mistreated. Some of the structures were broken. Me and a friend of mine, we sent a letter to the to San Jose, who owned the park, and we sent a letter telling them about a broken structure that can harm little kids, because there's always little kids, there's always little parties there with inflatables, and we don't want them to get hurt. It's our community. It's like right next to our elementary school, which is a bad example of their school and of the park, when we want our community to be better and to be even greater. So what we ended up doing, we sent the letter, the complaint, and the day after we sent the complaint, the structure was fixed, and we were so happy. We made a poster called "Please Clean Our Park," or not called, but that's what it said on there, and we taped it to or like pinned it onto a tree, and it did really affect the park and made it better.
Okay, so we're probably running out of time,
Yeah,
right?
we have about 5 more minutes.
4
Oh,
minutes.
no.
Okay, so the point is that culture, being the secret sauce, is the thing that you have to set up in order to achieve this deeper learning. What we want to do with our last 4 minutes is to allow you to get up and look at the projects, and our kids and their teachers and everyone will get up and you can intermingle with us. You can ask us anything you want in the last part. Okay? All right, let's do it.
There's so much more.
Mr. Porter George, tell me what's the effect of
Alright, so let's go stand by.
So think about like where you were at Bulldog Tech, and then where you are now, and then what has been the effect of using technology, effort, and perseverance in the classroom.
Before, I didn't use any technology. I didn't really know how to use it. But when I got to middle school, they really showed me how to use it, and it helped with my perseverance and effort, because I really got to, I had a lot of resources through the technology, so it really helped me learn.
So before, let's say when you were doing pencil and paper and the teacher just talking, and something is difficult, what would you do?
I would struggle. I kind of did struggle a little bit, so it was a lot harder.
Right.
Yeah, like when you have the technology, I learned.
Right. So now it sounds like, for me, one of the things I'm trying to get my teachers to understand is that things with technology, for me, I see it does to, that with effort and perseverance, you can problem solve something. With paper and pencil and nothing else, if you don't know something, there's nowhere else to go to get the information.